Welcome to Kung Fu Having number 2. This is part 2. Waiting on my TikTok to go live. Okay, TikTok's live now. I apologize profusely for that. That was a military issue call, and I had to take it because it was important because my future kind of depends on it. So they want me to write a resume, and I'm going to work on that and a cover letter, and I got to get an appointment with the school to help me do that shit. I do not honestly remember where I left off, so I'm just going to pick up from going to Smithfield, which is my father's hometown, where I had to prove my blackness there. And then as I came home back to Charlottesville, I also had to prove my blackness there. And the thing about being mixed is that more often than not, one side or the other of our heritage is going to accept us, and one side is going to reject us. Unfortunately for me, let me apologize now to everybody who is black. Please don't be offended by this. But most of my racial unacceptance came from mostly black people. And they were the ones who grinded into my skull that I would never be black enough to deal with black issues, and I can't do things that involve black people. No, I'm not good at sports. I'm not bad at sports either, by the way. But it was one of the things that just kept happening. It's like, we don't want to pick you on our team because you're a half breed. And that was one of the things, no matter where I went, that was one of the durations. I've had maybe 7 racial issues from white people. Maybe in my entire life, maybe 7. And 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't really say that all of them were racially motivated, except for the one in grade school where the girl who was white called me the N word. And before I could think, my left hand hit her in the mouth and busted her lip. I will always be ashamed of that. And to that young lady, I am sorry. I should have never hit her. But at the time, we were like in the 4th grade. I had a lot of white friends until that day. I never ever told them that she called me the N word because we never used that language in our house. We can listen to all the hip hop music we want, but we never used the N word in our house. Not that day. In fact, while we lived in the projects, we never used that N word ever. And then the fact that I had to keep hearing half breed all the time. In the projects, I got called half breed all the freaking time. All the freaking time. So it's been a staple. I'm not going to say it's traumatizing because it is what it is. But it's been a staple of how I've become who I've become due to the fact that you have no idea how many times someone has called me a half breed in my lifetime. Minus getting older and being called chief. Now, a lot of the things that are people who are not mixed, I need you to understand. So, this is not a bad thing. If you are curious and you want to know what we are mixed with, most of us are so used to it that if you just ask, we will probably tell you. Now, I said most of us. By most of us, I mean my Generation X. Because we didn't have a problem telling you, yeah, I'm mixed, man. I'm cool with it. I'm mixed. And it's when you start asking um, questions that aren't appropriate. Because, mixed people with blackness can say this efficiently. I'm black where it counts. That has been a thing. Yes, it has been a thing. And that has been a thing that has been asked of me by certain girls of certain colors. Not black girls, but, you know, non-black girls have asked, are you black where it counts? We're going to take a drink on that because we know exactly where they were going with that. And my answer is, you will have to find out somehow, some way, but not today. Anyway, the the dichotomy of being mixed is that you have to prove your blackness to blacks. I've never had to prove my nativeness to natives, except for I had one bad incident with 2 natives in the same day. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And with my whiteness, I know that I'm never, ever, ever going to have to prove my whiteness to white people because I'm never going to be white. It is not something that I say lightly, and it's not something that I say evilly towards white people. You can just look at my skin and tell I am never going to be white. Period. I can dye my hair if I want, but I'm still never going to be white. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. And I've had a lot of white friends that have accepted me for being mixed without the "you're black where it counts." Let me see. I don't know if I can invite this person, but if they want to invite or whatever, they can request. But the thing is, that goes for anybody who's here if you want to request. But your voices will be on my YouTube channel of Kung Fu Havoc #2. The thing was, yeah, that's about right. And the thing is, hey, if you want to get in this box, bro, you can add your thing. I hope that's an invite. I don't know what the hell that does, but your voice will be on YouTube. It's not really a debatable thing because if my live gets banned, I want people to be able to hear more than just my perspective for once. How's it going, man?
Good.
Because I can tell you, you being part Mexican, have you had to deal with the paper bag test or the toilet paper roll test? Colorism? Because
Yes.
that,
My older brother looks more Mexican in the family. Like, he's got the brown skin. And my friends always saying that, yeah, basically, that's one of my friends.
have y'all had to have you had to prove your Mexican indigeneity to other people, or do Mexicans just accept y'all and let it roll?
Nah, it's always been like a proof Mexican by speaking Spanish more.
Okay. Well, see, I don't know Cherokee, and I don't know Chickahominy, and I'm sure I just butchered that shit for like the 90th time. But I've only had one real bad native experience with two natives because I was trying to date the high chieftain's daughter, and they were his younger brothers, so they were also wheelchair bound, which I don't really think I should have said it, but I was in my 20s and I spoke without thinking. So I was trying to date her, and she also was on the wheelchair basketball team from whatever tribe they were in, and she was a very beautiful young lady. And I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to get a date or whatever. And her first or the second uncle, whichever, because he was the youngest one first, he came up to me and he said some, I guess, asinine shit. I don't know why this thing won't stand still. Sorry about that, because you can see my ugly face jiggle. He came up to me and said, "You cannot date my niece because you are not pure blood." And growing up, I never heard that term before, so I was a little bit pissed off, but I didn't hear the term before, so I was like, okay, what's your problem? He said, "You're not pure blood. You can't date our niece." And I was pissed because I never heard the term before. And we were at the top of a hill, and he was in a wheelchair, so there wouldn't have been no honor for me to beat him up while he was in a wheelchair. So I said, "You know what, dude? I will push you down this damn hill if you call me unpure blood one more time." So he didn't say anything. He rolled off. In fact, he rolled with her back into what is now the Black Historical Society, but it was Burley School at the time, or somebody's damn school. So no sooner than they got out of sight, the older brother or the middle kid, the guy with Jan Brady syndrome in the family, he came and he was twice as harsh on me as the younger brother was. And so, again, in my 20s, not thinking before I spoke, I said, "Dude, I just got rid of one of you. I will roll your ass into oncoming traffic, and I won't blink when you get hit by the car that's coming up the hill." And he literally had pissed me off to that point where I didn't want anything else to do with him other than to see him get smashed by a car. So that was my only really bad native experience because there's not a lot of natives that I can connect with here in Virginia. I know they're here, I just don't know where they are. And I just had I had talked to a young Mexican lady at Food Lion because I didn't know that she was Mexican, but she still is indigenous, and I thought that she was like a native of one of the tribes that are around here. And I asked her what tribe was she from. She says, I'm Mexican. I said, well, you do know that Mexicans are indigenous, right? I said, you do know that from Mexico to California used to be all of Mexico. And she didn't know that. So a lot of things need to be taught in school, especially the people of color. Hello there, buddy. Sorry, I just want to make sure I acknowledge that person at the bottom that gave me some smiles. And I tell people all the time, if you're not mixed, you kind of don't get it. And the thing with being mixed is that people don't understand the shit we go through versus proving we belong with both of our heritages, or in my case, all three of our heritages, versus society viewing us as abominations, as we used to be viewed as bargaining chips. Because if my tribe was bigger than your tribe and we wanted part of your tribe, the best way to keep from going to war was for someone from my tribe to marry into your tribe and produce a child, which would prevent us from going to war, especially if both of the people procreating the child was of royal native lineage. I'm probably not saying that correctly, so don't hold me to that shit. But this is some of my research that I had done, like on some Cherokee stuff. So just go with it, But the thing was that I started this video today before the phone call from the military because this thing came across my FYP. And in my defense, to defend The Rock because he's biracial, and I don't know if you're a fan of The Rock or whatever, and I hope that this gets back to him, and I hope that he gives me a job because my acting career sucks. But I wanted to defend him for the fact that a few years ago, the world gave Rock some flack because he wasn't trying to play any black characters. However, what the world failed to understand was he was trying to make a movie historically as John Henry, the black guy that built the railroad tracks. But then, the black community, they jumped down his shit and told him that he wasn't black enough. Yet the same people kept saying, he doesn't do anything for black people. He doesn't do anything for black people. Well, today, a fellow Samoan of his came on my FYP doing the exact same shit. And this is why I'm making the video, because people who aren't mixed, they don't get that shit. They don't get that mixed people have to not only live in two worlds, we have to balance that shit the fuck out, and you can't please everybody from one or two of your cultures. If you have more Spanish features, you probably can get along better with more Mexican people than you can with whatever you're mixed with. You know what I mean? Where my dumb ass, there's not a lot of natives around here. So proving that I have enough black to be black has been a problem for a bulk of my life. And I'm 49, so I've seen some shit. And the thing is that trying to explain that shit to people who aren't mixed, the same people that will look at you and they'll be like, where are you from? And then they'll ask you, where are you really from? Or if you're around some people who might be slightly racist, and let's say you and your brother are having a conversation in Spanish, and then you bump into that asshole that tells you, this is America, speak English. You know what I'm saying? And I don't speak any other language, so all I do is speak English. So I haven't bumped into that problem yet. But there's always someone who will give me that look and wonder what fucking country I'm from. And then they'll be polite about asking me. It's like, so where you from? It's like, oh, I'm all American. It's like, what does that mean? I said, okay, well, here's the thing. I'm part native, I'm part black, and I'm part white. Which part you want to learn about first? And being able to try to get people to understand that has been a pain in the ass. If you're not mixed, you don't have to worry about going home to what your parents' cultures are and where they're different and where that line is. Did you have to walk to decide, okay, am I going to be Mexican today? Yeah, I'm going to be Mexican today. Tomorrow I'm going to be black. And that's something we can do, providing that we got the hair for it. It's also something we can do, providing that we got the skin for it. But then when you get into school, because a lot of people fail to catch these things, if you're not careful, your friends will say some slick shit under their breath, and if you're not careful, even though they're your friends, you can catch them saying some slick shit too. And they were like, okay, well, I didn't mean it to offend you, but this is what a stereotype does to people of particular colors. You know, with black people, big lips and all that other bullshit. Mexican people will cut you, that kind of crap. And I'm like, you know what, man? Why don't y'all just have a conversation? Why don't you try to get to know a black person? Why don't you try to get to know a Mexican person? Why don't you try to get to know a Chinese person? Instead of just believing these fucking stereotypes. Well, I don't want to eat at the Chinese restaurant because they eat cats. I don't want to eat at the Korean restaurant because they eat dogs. Now, I'm sorry if I've offended anybody of any Asian ethnicity that just walked in on that because it's a stereotype. It is not the truth, but it's a stereotype. Now, it may have been true at one point, at one time, because when it comes to famine, damn near every country has had famine and has had to make some fucking sacrifices. But you can't let that post your judgment on a group of people. Now, the thing with like, all right, I don't know how many Mexican stereotypes you've had to face in your life, but I have been called the Mexican myself. I had a racist incident in school, in college. The college I'm still attending, but for different reasons. I had to take Spanish because they canceled the Japanese class because I was taking acting, and for some reason I had to learn a foreign language, if that makes sense. The only foreign languages they offered was Japanese and Spanish. Well, I was the only one that signed up for Japanese because I figured if I'm going to make kung fu movies, I might have to move to Japan, so I might need to learn the language so that I don't get killed. Nope, that got canceled, so they put me in Spanish. Our teacher was Spanish from Spain. I did not know that there was different dialects between Spanish from Spain and Spanish from the Mexicans that lived down the street from me. So I go to school, and I am sucking ass at learning Spanish. The only thing I learned was how to say was no habla español muy bien. That's it. I didn't learn a damn thing else. And this woman, I sucked ass so bad in her class that she told me the answers in the back of the book, you can cheat. And I said, ma'am, I can't learn if I cheat. And she said, well, one, Jaime, I have never seen a Mexican who can't speak Spanish. And that pissed me off a little bit. And I told her, I was like, first off, that's racist. Second off, I'm actually part Cherokee. I'm not Mexican at all. And she's like, what? I said, you need an American culture lesson. Not everyone who has this kind of face is Mexican. Alright? Understand that there are other Native Americans on this planet that are still alive, by the way, that aren't Mexican. You know? So she thought that I was Mexican. And the class was kind of, you know, they kind of thought I was Mexican too. They didn't even know I was part black. I had to explain that to her. I never went back to class, and I failed Spanish. I never wanted to take Spanish after that because it left such a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, of all the damn things in life, she just straight thought I was Mexican. Not a half-breed, not that. She just straight up insulted me and told me that she never met a Mexican that couldn't speak Spanish. And I was like, well, that's kind of fucked up. Now, I don't know if you've ever been through that shit, but it kind of sucks when people misidentify me. But I'm also okay with it because, you know, it is what it is. But 9 times out of 10, when you are mixed, you have to face these things on a regular basis. And people who aren't mixed don't understand how this shit works. You don't understand it when I go to school. I get called half-breed damn near every class. Alright? Now, it doesn't happen as much in college as it happened in high school and in grade school. But, yeah, I don't know why you can't join the live. I should be able to have more guests. What the hell is going on with this thing? Okay, I don't know what the hell that is. Let me get back out of that shit. What does that do? Okay. I don't know what that does. What the frack? Okay, fuck it. Sorry, Brother Donnie. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, even better. As long as you're still at work, we don't want you to lose any problems at work. Anyway, moving on. I had to have certain things happen to me in class to accept the fact that this is going to be something that I have to live with for the rest of my life. If I'm getting half-breed at school, and then I got to go home to where the majority of the people who live in my projects are black. There are some mixed people there, and there are some white people there, but it's far and few between. And damn it, my alarm's going off. Where's the damn cutoff button? Okay, it's not showing up. Sorry, y'all. There it is. Anyway, the whole thing is that, how do you tell your parents? Because I never told my mom that I was being picked on for being mixed. I never told her that shit. Except for the one time that she learned because the young lady of non-color had called me the N-word and I bust her lip. And then she had to come to school to pick me up because of that crap. And I do regret hitting her, and I don't regret hitting her at the same time. I regret hitting her because it was a girl. I don't regret hitting her because of the why, and that kind of set the stage. But most of the time in life, it's always been half breed, half breed, half breed. And then as you get older, it gets a little less nerve wracking because the people, instead of saying half breed, they actually ask, and they're like, okay, so I can see that you're mixed. What are you mixed with? Now, this also became a problem with applying for jobs because in 1973, whatever your parents were identified as, that's what they identified you as, even if your parents were mixed. The government has found ways to defer people of color in different categories other than what they actually are. So when I apply for a job, because Virginia is a right to fire you state, I put down black. I applied for a job at Tuesday mornings. It's a store. It's like a thrift store. And I didn't want to do cashier. I wanted to do stock. You can't get in trouble unloading the truck. I don't care who you are. Unless you're stealing off the truck, you can't get in trouble unloading the truck. And I put down black. Now, this lady was darker than me, and she was from England. And she asked me if I was sure. And I said, ma'am, I'm sure I don't want you to fire me if you give me the job for lying on my application because my birth certificate says black. I need to put black. That's one of the laws in Virginia that you can fire me for lying on my application. So she's like, well, you don't look black. I said, ma'am, I'm not all the way black. But I was born in 1973. I just follow the rules. She's like, well, you should probably check other. I said, well, when my check come, they're going to know that I'm black. And I would prefer to actually get my check than have my ass fired and not get a check because I didn't put black on the application. This has happened more than once. But when you apply for jobs because you're mixed, do you have the same issue? Or do you just put Mexican and say, fuck it? Are you still there?
Yeah, I apply for jobs, but I don't really get them that often when I apply.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's that or something else.
It's probably a racist thing, man. It's probably a racist thing because I apply for certain jobs and they would probably give me the second string job versus the job I actually applied for. No. With the exception of the Army, because in the Army, when you apply for a job, you actually got to pass the ASVAB test so they can see where they're going to put you. I barely passed the ASVAB test, so my dumbass got infantry. Yeah, so yeah, we weren't happy about the infantry because I wanted to be a military police officer, but I got infantry. Still got good training, but I don't want to kill any fucking body. But that was the job I got. 11 Bravo. So yeah, if you're gonna go to the military, brush up on your math. This the best thing I can tell you is just brush up on your math, because if you don't brush up on your math, you're gonna get infantry. Now, unless you legally want to take that route, and that's what you choose to do, then hey, more power to you. But there are better jobs in the military than infantry. I highly advise anyone watching that's thinking about going to the military, brush up on your math. You do not want infantry. And not because I didn't want to be in the front line, not because I'm scared. It's just that I don't want to unalive anybody, especially with the circumstances and the way the world works with war. And after what my training put me through, it was a mental bust because of what they told me I would have to do, and I would have to be disconnected to do it because of young lives and being used as pawns. I can't word that the way I really want to because we're on TikTok. And TikTok already has me for an account warning. But, back on the topic at hand, as a mixed person, it has been a little bit difficult to find success. It has been more difficult for me to find success in the acting business than anything else. I don't want to continue to clean toilets for a living. I have this last semester, which means this last class is it, and then I get to graduate with a degree in police science. I have my criminal justice certificate in this thing here, but I don't know what the hell kind of job I'm going to be able to get with this thing. That's what the military call was about because I have to build a resume now. Like, man, for the love of God. But as a mixed person, when it comes to things like TV, all right, Rock's on Kelly Clarkson's right now, but, I keep it real here. That the thing is, there's not a lot of representation in the movies for people like me. And if they are, depending on what their features show, they tend to play more of the character where their features are mostly showed. If I got a job playing a native, no one would probably complain. Where if I tried to get a job playing a black man, they're probably gonna have to put me in a wig. Because this is like really straight hair. And that's gonna be a problem. And hello dear friend. I hope you can get in. Cause she's very why is this damn thing not working? I don't know how many people I can have in this bloody box. Well, I attempted. It's, I fucking hate technology.
That
But yeah.
might be because they don't have 1,000 followers. But
Oh well.
again, I don't know.
I don't know how it works, man. I'm just happy to be able to get somebody in this freaking box. But I do know that as a mixed person, there are a lot of issues that I find myself in. Now I don't know how big you are on MMIP, but you should definitely get into that and push Native issues more to the front. Since you're part Mexican, that means you're part Indigenous, which means this will affect you on some level or another. I try to get as much MMIP stuff out with the effect that I'm not as big as Modern Warrior was, so no one's really listening to me. But I do know that a lot of natives, we are pushing for more native issues. But most importantly, we want to know why the main news isn't covering these things. A young lady from Alaska came across my NYP this morning, and I'm pissed off that the Alaskan State Police left her family member out there. They know that Alaska does not play with the temperatures, man, and he's passed. So I did make a video about that because I'm still pissed off right now. But there's not enough native representation. There's not enough mixed people representation, which is why I love what The Rock does. But him, me, you, Tiger Woods, and everyone else who's mixed will always get the shit from people who are not mixed because they don't understand how that shit works. As a mixed person in general, I often feel that I'm more kicked while I'm down than lifted up, because like certain jobs, oh, now we don't want to give it to you. And because I look like I can speak Spanish, sometimes people will ask me stuff in Spanish, and I'm like, dude, I'm not Mexican. I can't speak Spanish. Hell, I don't know Cherokee. I don't know Chickahaw. Fuck. I'm never going to get that shit right. Anyway, because I'm probably that exact native, so I'm never going to get that shit right. But I don't speak any language other than English because we were robbed of our heritage. Now, the thing is, there's no schools that can teach me indigenous speaking. I can learn Cherokee off of YouTube. I can't remember what I learned so far, so because it doesn't retain well. But with being mixed, it's like it's a tug of war for one, and then there's an acceptance for the other. The tug of war is with your two heritages, or in my case, your three heritages. Well, I can pretty much say that the white rope is just there dangling because I know I will never really be white. I can understand some of the things that drive white people and I can talk to white people peacefully without it getting racist. And then when it comes to black people, the tug of war begins with, can you do things with black people that is pro-black and not feel like they are fucking can you do things with black people and be pro-black about it, but not make them feel like you're stabbing them in the back because of your native heritage? And then on the native side, if it wasn't for native TikTok, I'd be fucking lost. But I have a lot of full native friends on native TikTok that have accepted me, and I'm so damn grateful. The problem is that I get pissed when I see black people doing indigenous erasure, and then they're like, "Well, you guys aren't the real natives and stuff." And stuff. Okay, cool. I think if you push the button, I can get you in here. I'm not gonna swear to it because I'm stupid when it comes to technology. But the thing with indigenous erasure is all over the board on TikTok, and I do have some indigenous friends. I send them to this. I was like, "Yo, is this indigenous erasure? If I'm losing my fucking nutsack here," but they do get back with me and say, "Yeah, we don't know why this person's doing that." But for the people who claim to be indigenous, that are Afro-indigenous, but they're not, they're just pushing Afro-indigenous away. They don't seem to jump on the indigenous erasure thing. I don't know if that worked. And there's my brother Kenny Powers. Okay, it worked. Excellent. Welcome. Welcome. Get this out of the way first. I am a pale-ass native. Well, I thank you. I am a mixed-ass native. I'm 1,000% mutt. And I had to make this video live thing mostly because people who aren't mixed don't really get it. What's happening, brother Kenny? And it's kind of hard to explain to people. Like, being mixed native, I can explain it to people. There are some fights as a mixed native that our asses do not belong in. Yeah, but sometimes we kind of got to step in when it comes to people doing indigenous erasure stuff, you know. And unfortunately, a lot of my black half is doing the indigenous erasure. And it sucks. That's one of those, like, twisty-turny. Raiden, leave your brother alone. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. But yeah, y'all hard-headed like I am. Leave him alone. Kenny, I would never call another human being that, but thank you, brother. Because I'm a big mutt, too. I will call myself that before I call anybody else that. And just because it is what it is. But you can see my muttering. But I do hear you with some of the fights us mixed natives should stay out of. But it is difficult as fuck to stay out of it for me. The Afro-Indigenous issues that are happening right now is one that us light-skinned natives do need to be involved in. Because we see the different treatment. I specifically have been treated differently by elders when Uncle Voldemort did his, if you're white passing, you're white. Yeah, that will never, ever go away. He's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. And I think that he will learn that he has fracked up. No. And it's not just that, though. Like, that one's the biggest. That was his biggest oopsie. That was a disgusting faux pas. Yeah. I watched the treatment of light-skinned mixed natives who are white-presenting, including myself. I am not in any shape or form confused or not centric with my identity as an indigenous person. I was raised by two indigenous parents. My Unsi, my grandmother, lives on Pine Ridge. Like, I have no qualms about saying I am indigenous. I don't care what you think about my skin color. Y'all can chew me up, spit me out if that's what you think you
can do, because you ain't gonna hurt my feelings, because my validation of indigeneity doesn't come from people who don't know our history.
Oh, I agree.
My auntie and two of my grandmothers, both my grandmothers, my aunt on my dad's side, my grandmother's two older brothers on my mom's side are all residential/Indian boarding school survivors. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that my skin tone, which as a kid was much, much darker, wasn't a direct result.
Oh, I understand, because I'm still trying to find out if my great grandmother was in a residential school, because she mentioned schooling, but she had told me that her and her brother John ran through the woods and moccasins, but they didn't go to what we would consider a regular school. But I don't know how to find if there's any residential schools in Virginia yet. I'm still trying to figure out the Charles City thing, trying to find the reservation in which she came from. So that's also been something that's been kicking me in the ass. I'm like, oh my God, man. And then the BIA, I don't know why they exist.
Is no help.
Yeah, they really aren't. I don't really think that they have
more rules and regulations on natives because we're not,
Yeah. I don't think that they have natives for natives working there. I think they have like greedy natives working for themselves versus helping native tribes.
From what I understand, because I did do a paper on this.
They're a handful, I know. I don't have any of my own. But they will be arriving soon.
Go on like this. My 4-year-old's potty training. So what I understand when I researched the BIA, something to know about me is while I'm in school and I was in college not that long ago, I picked the most controversial topics to write papers on just because I want to piss my professors off.
Works for me.
During one of these topics, I had to do some research on the BIA because I made the assertion that colonization and rules created by non-indigenous people, non-natives, are still considered colonization.
Yeah.
Right, and leave your brother alone. So I had to prove that. Well, when I looked into the BIA, I believe that it was mostly non-native people.
Oh, well, that would explain a lot. That would explain a whole lot, because I started my reconnecting journey at least 5 years ago. That's a rough estimate. It's between 5 and 6 years ago. I'm not going to swear to it because the journey hasn't stopped. But I reached out to the BIA, which is why I had to get a freaking DNA test. So they don't have enough native DNA to match. So they're still looking for that for 23
so
and
me.
Choppy. And then
that was one of my biggest issues with one of the elders. He claims eldership and pipe carrier from my tribe. There's a Afro-Indigenous young person. I say young, and it's not.
It's fine.
They're younger than me. It's just,
I'm 48. Excuse me. I'm 49. I forgot I had a birthday.
Oh, you're okay. You can't be upset.
The BIA also had told me I need to go find a blood quantum test now, and then I gotta do genealogy. So I'm like, well, damn, why didn't y'all just tell me that in the first place? And so that's been a big issue for for indigenous proving of my heritage. I have to go now look to way to find a blood quantum test because I don't know if the tribes around here do blood quantum. I'm still doing mad research while trying to graduate from college at 49 years old. So I am not a happy camper. But it's like
I bet
they just keep sending me in circles.
Yeah, they will.
But there's got to be a way to like they need to get more natives in there just for natives versus agents that don't give a damn. And I don't want to make it sound bad.
The BIA was originally set up for the agents of the reservations. Which,
Yeah.
if you know our history, you know that they were always
I
white
have
soldiers.
I have heard that. I just wasn't sure because I know that my dealings with the BIA, I spoke to a Native woman, but I don't think that she was about Native people. I hope I worded that right because there was a Native lady in the BIA and she was giving me all the instructions of what I need to do, and I'm still working on that shit till this day, fucking damn near 5 years later. And she told me about blood quantum, DNA, genealogy, and now if it wasn't for my dear friend that I follow, Miss Truebear, and if it wasn't for Victoria, I would have not known shit about the 60s scoop. So now I gotta figure that crap out. I'm like, what the hell? And the BIA, they're I don't know if the people that are indigenous are in there for themselves or if they are in there for indigenous people to freaking, help out people reconnecting. And I started my reconnecting journey because I met a native who was darker than me, but he was mixed native, so he's more native than me. He thought I was a full blood, but I wasn't. And he decided that I need to go on this journey, and I decided I need to go on this journey because I went to the military because I thought I had skin cancer. And so when I talked to him, he's like, well, this is what you're going to do. Here's the number to the BIA. These are who you need to talk to. And then after that, he opened up a box of hell for me, and I dove through it without questioning because I'm stupid and I was infantry. So I didn't think, okay, well, maybe I should ask questions before I deal with these people. Nope. Called the BIA the next day, and they pretty much gave me the finger and one of those fire pokery things for the fireplace, and just jammed it straight up there with no Vaseline because they have not helped me at all.
The BIA was not set up by or for indigenous people. They were set up to continue the erasure and the genocide.
Well, they're doing a pretty good job at the freaking erasure part. And there's not a whole lot I can do.
DNA, though, that pisses me off is and this is why I support the lineage. I don't support blood quantum. I never will. If you're 1%, if you're 100%, you're indigenous, you're native. I don't care. And that comes from the fact that my pale ass comes from two almost full indigenous parents who are dark. I mean, they got their washichu mode when it's winter, but
so they're like my color.
And their skin is like pop. Both my parents are like your color in summer, and then they get like this ashy, pale, weird dark color in winter.
My great grandmother on my father's side was your color. Her daughter was my color, but she was your color. And I was like, okay.
But I also understand that based on where you live is a big determination of your skin color.
Yeah, I had to point that out to people too because Virginia has some really fracked up ass weather. Because I'm in Virginia. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah.
What you do.
Our weather
the fact that I'm an
is bad.
Who stays
I'm going to take you guys outside with me